We've seen an incredible increase in retail rates over the last few years, right? So, when I was a professor, we'd always talk about 10 to 15 cents a kilowatt hour being kind of our mental index on retail prices, unless you're talking about Hawaii, and Hawaii was like 35. PG&E is now like 45. So, almost a tripling over the last decade in retail rates. And that's going to have very real implications on where load goes, on affordability, and kind of what a decarbonization pathway looks like. Rhode Island had backing out of an offshore wind project because it was too expensive for customers to bear. Connecticut governor backed out of an offshore wind contract saying, I care deeply about affordability. And so we've seen this increasing theme of political leaders, even in very blue states, which have very strong clean energy agendas, really starting to talk about affordability and maybe needing to back off of some goals. The majority of these costs are fixed costs, and yet we still have retail rates that are largely volumetric. And we have, all these concerns, all this heartburn around, how can we, reduce curtailment of clean energy resources? How can we, minimize our need to pay for transmission and distribution upgrades and all these sorts of things? But if you dive into it, it's really that we don't have retail rates that are creating the right incentives. The blue line is basically the grid intensity required to meet emissions targets if we were to maintain flat load from today. If we add load growth, grid intensity needs to get proportionately cleaner in order to not result in increased emissions. And so you can see that, if decarbonization was already hard, you add load growth, it gets even harder. This domino, starting with Trump energy policies, which remove tax credits and delay offshore wind and create, challenges for renewable build out, which increases California carbon intensity, which increases California carbon costs, which increases affordability challenges, which we expect California to circle back into subsidizing clean energy in order to reduce those costs back down. The problems that I mentioned with the way that the slice of data is structured and not creating the right incentives really need to get resolved. Right? Vertical slicing would allow much better alignment between the resources and the LSEs. The deliverability problem is huge, right? If you could build an 8-hour storage that can't get deliverability today, according to the way deliverability is measured, but could easily deliver power all night long.